from an MEP perspective, from a panel perspective, from a liquid cooling perspective, or from a gas perspective, what we use, there would be specifics which would be helping us to carve out this sustainable journey at an inception of a design stage.
20,000 crore have been allocated for research and development of small modular reactor, and government has put together a target of 100 gigawatt by 2047.
What exactly, Sharad? So we are seeing the same ball. So, but I think, and the ball is big. I'm very positive, Deborah. I think we will be closer.
You're watching W.Media Deep Dive, our exclusive video podcast series where we take a closer look at the cloud and data center industry and connectivity infrastructure across South Asia and the Middle East. I'm your host, Deborah Grey, Editor-in-Chief at W.Media, and today we will take a deep dive into sustainability, specifically building carbon-neutral mega data center campuses of the future. Joining us today are our special guests, Sharad Agarwal, CEO, Sify Infinit Spaces Limited, and Surajit Chatterjee, Managing Director, Data Center India, CapitaLand Investment. Welcome to the show, gentlemen. How are we doing today?
Thank you, Deborah. Doing great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Glad to be here.
Sharad, Surajit, you are business leaders, highly respected in the data center industry. I'd like to pick your brain about how you define sustainability. And before that, if you can take us through your organization's journey in this respect.
Yeah, so thank you, Deborah, for having me in Deep Dive. And it's glad to be alongside Surajit on this chatter, in this session. Sify had been in the data center business for the last 25 years. Sify claims, and actually it is right also, that we are the one to set up the first commercial data center of India back in September 2000 on top of a station that is in Vashi. And ever since, we have grown the data center business to multi-folds. To reach to a current level where Sify is able to serve all types of customers, whether they are in the hyperscaler world or in the enterprise world in different verticals, including the banking and financial sector, the entertainment industry, the OTT players, the network, telecom. We have more than few hundred megawatts operational, few hundreds under construction, and then all of us would like to build few gigas of watts of data center over the period of time. So that's the ambition we have. Sify originally was a business, a company called Sify Technologies. But in recent times, we have bifurcated the Sify Technologies, that is the telecom license holder, into three different companies. Sify Technologies with pure focus on networking and telecom. Sify Digital Services, purely focused on IT infrastructure management. And Sify Infinit Spaces, that is purely focused on the data center business. And over the time now, we are having a business leader for all three different businesses. So I am leading the Sify Infinit Spaces. Talking about the sustainability, obviously the sustainability is the most important aspect of the data center design, production, delivery, project, and operation now. More so because data centers are consolidating all the energy consumptions, all the heat generation by the IT equipment into one central place. So if one central place becomes densely populated with electrons, densely populated with heat, and then densely also populated with all infrastructure element, whether it is cement, concrete, or the energy component like diesels, or all the other equipment in a very high dense manner, or the chillers, or the generator, or many different things. All these aspects have to be done and delivered and operated in the manner that it is sustainable. So it has three different components. One is on energy, second is on efficiency, and third is on engineering, design, delivery, in everything that is becoming the component of delivery. Energy means making sure we are using as much as renewable energy as possible. Efficiency means we are uh, we are improving on power user effectiveness, efficiency, and water usage efficiencies. And then the design and engineering component means that we are constructing a data center using supposedly green, not saying supposedly, let's leave that word adjective out, green steel and green cement. We are using the equipment which has in this whole supply chain lesser and lesser impact on carbon. And then we are operating in the manner that it is the best use of all these components. So energy, renewable energy, efficiency, we use whatever energy we bring most efficiently, and then ensure that every single component that is being used for delivery and operation and design of the data center has the least carbon footprint in his whole manufacturing history. Yeah, that's how I put the sustainability goals for me together. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Sharad. Surajit, why don't you take us through your journey?
Sure. Thank you, Deborah, and great to be on the deep dive. Thank you for this, and great also to share the dais with Sharad. CapitaLand Investment is a Singapore headquartered global conglomerate of as an asset development manager and a fund. That means we do a lot of asset classes globally, which is on the consumer side as well as on the industrial side. On the industrial side, specifically in India, we do office asset class, we do lodging and warehousing. We have started doing data centers, and I'll touch a little bit more about it. We do renewables as a sector. We are also into credit as a fund. And now we are also getting into hospitality, which we own globally as the Ascot brand. So the group has a diverse experience of all asset classes, which brings a lot of focus and a lot of capability within the group. Data center journey for CapitaLand typically started almost a decade back. And today we have globally data centers across Europe, Singapore, China. We're going into Japan, Korea, India. Currently, our global capacity of IT load is roughly about 800 megawatts, and we have about 27 data centers to be counted. Now that's where we are on the global front. On the India, we started our journey way back around 2019, 2020 to become an operator and add value to this asset class. We're currently building 4 assets between the 4 corridors of Mumbai, Chennai, Hyderabad, and Bangalore with a combined IT load of, gross load of about 250 megawatts. These are large facilities, on basic design parameters to cater to both our hyperscale and enterprise class of customers. Now, coming back to your question, sustainability, I think, and Sharad touched very valid, views about that. For us specifically, sustainability is about balance and responsibility. It's about creating high performance data centers without compromising the environment. Now, how do we do that? That means we need energy efficient designs. We need renewable energy options because we being power guzzlers, that's imperative. We need to conserve water also in the process. How do we do that? Because that's going to be a challenge as we move forward. And obviously the carbon reduction. Essentially, it's all about building a future ready infrastructure in a way that benefits both the industry and the environment. And that's our way of looking at things in terms of how to adopt various energy saving designs right from the core, how to ensure that the effectiveness of these designs are bringing sustainable usage back to our customers and improving the overall ecosystem.
But now I want to pick your brain on something else. Yes, I mean, there is that conscious effort being made to become more sustainable. But what was the decision driver? Why did you choose to be on that path? Was it because of growing consciousness about climate change? Was it a demand from customers? Or was it because of regulatory compulsions?
I think a bit of everything, Deborah. To be very honest, customers obviously were the driving factors, especially the hyperscalers. They're getting very, very particular about sustainability and the kind of sustainable norms they're looking the partner to, comply with. They want their data to be housed in green facilities typically. Regulations are also catching up. to be very honest, with government incentivizing green investments. That's also opening up this asset class as a renewable sector. We have recently just invested into a solar power plant in Chennai of a 25 megawatt. So that's also an opportunity, obviously supported by government measures in terms of how to look at this sector more aggressively. But I think at CapitaLand, we believe in sustainability. That's very clear. It just isn't a compliance. It's more from a leadership perspective that we look at sustainable and how we can be sustainable in all our journey across our asset classes. So I think that's what is getting lead by example. So yes, it is driven by customer behavior. It is supported by government regulatory, but it is also the inherent, I think, a strategy and a behavior which is leading to adopt this as fast as possible.
Sharad, how about you?
Yeah, I think I would just probably would, if I was first, I would have said exactly the same thing. It is everything. It is everything. It is the consciousness. It is driven by the customer. It is, uh, or if it is not, it will be driven by regulations. And overall, on top of it, it is really the right way to do it. Uh, because at the end of the day, we have to think also practically that the resources are limited and we have to make best use of the resources as well. And when you introduce efficiencies, if you reuse, recycle as much as you can and leaving behind minimal residuals, that's how you can also promise that, hey, we will be able to continue to earn our dollars for longer period of time, right? So it is also practical and prudent to do it that way. And therefore, it's very important that we all believe in it.
Perfect. We all believe in it. We want to get there, but I'm sure there are some challenges involved in securing reliable and affordable renewable energy sources. What kind of challenges have you faced?
So there are two or three pieces. One is uh, putting together a large solar farm or putting together a large wind energy farm. There are only few places you can go ahead and do it. And the amount of space they occupy, uh, finding that land, finding that space, and then connecting that generated electricity to the grid, all that is something has a constraint. And you need, based on who are you talking to or what kind of people, what kind of production facility generation facilities people have achieved, it takes 3 to 4 acres of land to generate just 1 megawatt of energy from solar. That means if we are talking about 1,000 megawatt of data centers, you need 3,000 acres of land minimum or 4,000 acres lands minimum to generate that kind of electricity.
That too in a state where you have abundant solar energy.
Where you have abundant solar available in majority of the time, right? So that is one factor. That's the big challenge. Now, because you cannot do it everywhere, you have to diversify and use other sources of renewable and sustainable energy as well.
Are you looking at nuclear?
Exactly. That's where I put that post also in LinkedIn, that in recent time we have seen small modular reactor becoming reality in the rest of in the United States. At least some data center providers have started looking into putting a small modular reactor, and in this budget 20,000 crore have been allocated for research and development of small modular reactor, and government has put together a target of 100 gigawatt by 2047. But for private participation, changes in the acts are required. That's also the government has promised. But easier said than done. Will you and I like to have a data center next to our home running on a nuclear energy, which is also generating the nuclear energy through an SMR within the campus?
I know there are horror stories. There's Fukushima, there's 3 Mile Island. Everyone is terrified of nuclear energy, but that is an interesting direction to go into. But I'd like to come back to Surajit here. You're building your own solar farm. Was that also driven mainly, or at least in part, because of the need to provide renewable energy to the data centers you're building?
Partly, I think, Deborah, I think for us, the biggest challenge was reliability and cost also. And, renewables, like solar and wind, are there, but it was also a challenge of retrofitting the existing infrastructure to support the renewables, typically. And that's why we at CapitaLand, we've started integrating green power solutions right from the design stage. And so one way of addressing the green power was also through the solar farm. And because now there are various structures available to cater to these sustainable solutions. It could be at a group captive level, it could be a dedicated captive level, it could be various other models. So I think from CapitaLand perspective, we're very clear and we would ensure the maximum amount of generation. In fact, we are now exploring to also looking at some M&A deals in this sector where possibly we could go and acquire some Genco who can commit us some capabilities over a period of time to cater from a sustainable power. So I think the various models being looked at, right, not only from a design perspective, also from a infrastructure perspective in terms of whether internal or external to cater to those needs.
But I'm sure transitioning to sustainable power sources also comes with its challenges, right?
Yes, sure. It does. It does. And that's where you have to look at those midpoints, how you are able to do those transitions within the given infrastructure, how it will cater to your design influence in terms of meeting the customer needs, and how able you are able to generate. Because today, specifically from a hyperscaler perspective, the need is very defined from the day one. So you have to cater to those needs. You have to ensure that your backend infrastructure is ready in terms of not only structure, but also able to generate so much of capacities. So all is right now is sort of a hybrid way to look at it in terms of some investment, some outsourcing, and a mix of that.
Let's talk money now. How do you balance your short-term operational costs with long-term sustainability investments? That's going to be a tightrope walk, right?
Very pertinent question, I must say. It's a shift in a mindset, honestly speaking. Traditionally speaking, we see sustainability as a cost and an expense, typically. But in reality, it's an investment payoff today. We've seen huge energy savings, with AI powered optimization and better cooling effectiveness. So while upfront a cost is there, but I think if you have to look at a long-term operational savings and brand credibility, it makes absolutely worthy. And that's one way also to address your sustainable goals, not only from as an internal organization, what you have carved for you, from also from an environment perspective, how much you're adding value to it. So you're not going to make money on a short term. Absolutely, it's very clear. But I think on a long term basis, as you build or as you create infrastructures to support the sustainable energy, I'm sure that there are various structures and models available to support that return on investment over a period of time.
Sharad, are you also seeing a very clear return on investment in the long run?
On the renewable energy front, correct. Yes. On the energy front, at least there is immediate returns because uh, the cost of energy in India, the renewable energy, is less expensive in comparison to what you pay as a tariff to electricity board. Uh, and, uh, and as we are moving forward, the new energy generation is typically getting less and less expensive. So the tariff, the cost of the per kilowatt hour cost is increasingly going down. So yes, that is there. I think it's not a question of whether, at least on the renewable energy front, whether there is a trade-off. In the renewable energy front, it's really a business sense. It makes perfect business sense altogether, right? I haven't yet deep dive on the other cost, whether it will be really a add-on cost to build a data center using green steel or green cement, or what kind of additional costs we will end up spending in making sure that all equipments have the lesser and lesser carbon footprint. How are we holding our supply chain accountable on their initiative on the green aspects or the carbon net footprint? That's where we are still learning. What I'm really worried about is the long-term risks to what we are doing.
Oh.
So when I go and make an investment, just the way Surajit has done it in the solar farms, these will be typically with an outlook of 15, 20, 25 years.
Yes.
If we go ahead and make that investment, that's a risk we are taking on behalf of our customers. If this trend doesn't continue, then we will probably end up giving a lot of, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, 80 years, 90 years, 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, 400 years, 500 years, 600 years, 700 years, 800 years, 900 years, 1000 years, 2000 years, 3000 years, 4000 years, 5000 years, 6000 years, 7000 years, 8000 years, 9000 years, 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, 400 years, 500 years, 600 years, 700 years, 800 years, 900 years, 1000 years, 2000 years, 3000 years, 4000 years, 5000 years, 6000 years, 7000 years, 8000 years, 9000 years, 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, 400 years, 500 years, 600 years, 700 years, 800 ye green energy back to the society at our cost. Because we are not our contracts with our customers are not tied for so many years as we are tying ourselves or committing ourselves to the renewable energy generation. So, so, so there is a risk element, and if a financial planner, how much they put that risk element into the cost and return uh, calculation, that's where probably is something to be thinking about. Otherwise, maybe it's a risk worth taking at this time.
And I think I tend to agree. Just to add, I think that's where innovative structures needs to come and support the asset classes, because as Sharad rightly said, the customer contract vis-a-vis the investment on the infrastructure is not matching today.
Yeah.
So probably for an organization like us, which has multi-asset, can still levy that and take advantage. But for a single asset, from an end customer catering, I think there has to be both ways relooking at the structure, how to look at the returns. Where there is a mandate and everybody needs to focus on sustainability and provide that, the cost and the returns also are very critical because a huge investment involved. So I think it's still lit a broader picture from maybe 2 years, 3 years down the line. There need to be innovative structures around this in terms of how the modeling can be done.
All right. Let's just go back for a second to you had mentioned, both of you, that government has come up with certain initiatives. But if you two today, as business leaders, were to make an appeal to the government, what kind of policy support or regulatory environment would you like them to cultivate to help you on this journey or towards your sustainability goals?
So on the renewable front, I think the uh, different state governments have different policies and constraints uh, uh, on allowing the organizations to go and for open access. Open access is the mechanism established in India by the government to allow the private parties to generate and wheel in their own power to their facilities. Now, different state governments have a different policies on that. To what extent they will allow open access, to what extent they will allow the user, the data center, to go and produce the electricity or to do a long-term power purchase agreements. Sometimes even the amount of electricity that we can generate is constrained by certain of these policies, or PPAs are constrained by these policies. So one appeal would really be that to remove these constraints, ensure that we are able to bank the power as much as we want. Obviously, there could be some accountability built in on return by the government and the regulations. But yes, that is the second. And third is really ability to de-risk some of these elements that the organizations like data centers are taking by net contribution to the renewable power obligation. Every single electron produced, generated from these projects are net addition to the percentage of renewable power into the system. So those contributions probably should be incentivized in certain manner. So I have these asks specifically from the renewable perspective.
Surajit, how about you?
I think largely Shraddha is covered, but for me, I think right now definitely the need is for a uniform policy. I think that is the start point. And I think today two platforms, ASSOCHAM for the data center and CII are actively taking this to the government back to ensure that how states can adopt a uniform policy. Because as we aim to build more green environment, I think policies is the first driven. So I think my single focus or ask would be that it's very imperative that center has to look at it differently and ensure some kind of an uniformity is maintained across all the corridors of data center in India.
Okay, Surajit, if you remember, during the Mumbai CDC, you and I were talking about how thinking needs to change at the inception stage itself. And you have carved a niche of sorts for yourself in the BTS space. I want to ask you, when it comes to sustainability, how have you started thinking differently at the inception stage itself?
Deborah, I think earlier sustainability was sort of an afterthought. Now it is built into the design from day one. And And as you say that, how when the market keeps changing and you see trends happening, especially global, I think that brings in that kind of thought process. We are using a lot of modular designs, AI-driven energy efficiency and smart cooling systems to ensure that our facilities are scalable and sustainable both from a design level stage. Obviously, sustainability is now integrated from inception, as I said earlier. We design facilities to optimize inflow, airflow, implement the high efficient cooling, explore how the water efficient technologies can be adopted. Additionally, geographical location also plays a crucial role in terms of energy as well as site selection. So I think while we are at the drawing board, honestly speaking, today, we try to ensure that how we can be sustainable in terms of design. Today, we are trying to adopt even sustainable design, modular design structure at our core and shell. Then we get into the floor level, then we get into the network level. So I think that is coming into the behavior of as an operator. And I think not for us, I think mostly all the players are in and around playing that same area, so that end of the day, these all bits pieces add together to what we call to a sustainable journey.
How about you, Sharad? How are you thinking differently at the inception
So one
stage?
of the pieces that how we are motivating and enabling every single person in the organization to be passionate about sustainability. So bring that force multiplier of impact there, where it's not just one person in the design engineering stage thinking about it. It's at every single stage, it should be running in everyone's mind. Everyone should be looking out for the corners, looking out for the every single element that of the data center infrastructure, that where all we can go ahead and design differently. Should also go around even to think in the direction that, hey, how can we even save a new construction? If a building exists and if this building have to be reused without demolishing, then that's also a net saving in comparison.
The embedded carbon question, though, remains still
Exactly,
unanswered.
exactly, right? Now, all these things can happen when every single person is motivated and passionate as much as everyone would have to be or should have to be. Yeah, it's not just me or my engineering team or 1% or 2% thinking about it, making sure that every single person is incentivized to think towards the sustainability. This is in addition to what Surajit said, what I am thinking as my 2 cents addition to what we are thinking about. Yeah.
No, but can you give me an example of, say, some unique or innovative architectural or engineering solution that you have implemented into your project, something that you built recently?
These are still work in progress. I would say that before I could highlight a case study, let's plan in another session like this in 6 months' time. Then I will be able to declare some of my IPs at that time.
Surajit, how about you?
I think while specifically we might not be able to share now, Deborah, but I think as we progress now, there will be specific from an MEP perspective, from a panel perspective, from a liquid cooling perspective, or from a gas perspective, what we use, there would be specifics which would be helping us to carve out this sustainable journey at an inception of a design stage. So I think that work is parallelly on and it's largely because there is so much of clarity coming from the end customers that how much of sustainable power they need at a design level. We are obviously very, very proactive to ensure that we are able to meet them through matching the global technologies and standards and ensuring that it is implemented within our infrastructure also.
Speaking of global standards, do you think getting sustainability and green building certifications from respected national and international bodies helps you gain a competitive edge?
I think I quite agree to it, yes, because certifications such as LEED, not only validates our commitment to sustainability, but it also enhances credibility with global customers that prioritize ESG. I think that's because those kind of certification also gives them confidence back that the service provider with whom they are dealing with are maintaining those global standards in terms of ensuring that all the certifications at the design level, all the necessary SOPs, all the necessary carve out are in place, and that process has been followed, not only followed, but audited at various levels. So I think, yes, it does make a lot of difference.
Yeah, I would agree with that. In particular, means any third party audits or any third party coming and looking into either doing the peer reviews or auditing and giving their report in the form of a certificate or a detailed report is always good idea. Uh, because every single because when you are serving the global customer base, the global customer base probably will not have the all ways and mechanisms to deep dive into every single pieces that you have done. So it's always good idea. It's always good idea to have a peer review, third party audit, certifications. Uh, I'm not necessarily a big fan of that, but yes, it's always good.
No, I think it's all, and yeah, more or less everybody has a similar view that we're not great fan of that. But what happens is that a third party view also brings a sort of a, a sort of a comparison drawn in terms of, what we are doing internally is being seen by a specialist, and how does a customer also looks at it. So it gives a comparative analysis of the entire effort being drawn out.
Yep. Yep.
All right, gentlemen, let's talk about AI now. We know that you're using it for better resource management. What I'd like to know is, are you using it to perhaps track carbon emissions? What kind of a role is it playing in your decarbonization goals, achieving your decarbonization goals?
So Surajit, let me answer
Sure,
that. I have an operational data center.
Sure. I think as of now, Deborah, I think it's sort of a brain behind the efficiency, I would say. It helps us to optimize the power usage, definitely. And a lot of things is work in progress, honestly speaking. Today, the AI subject is so vast that as you go deep, you see various options. But for us right now, what we're trying to focus through that is how do we optimize our power usage? How can we predict our cooling, needs? How can we automate our load balancing typically and track carbon emissions in real time? That's where we are currently focusing. If we are able to do that, my personal view is that, we should be able to see a very rough guesstimate about 15 to 20% of savings, while you do that. And these are various scopes driven through various processes and tools embarked into it. So it's still work in progress, I would say. But these are the few areas right now we are focusing to ensure that how AI can help us to, to analyze more real time in terms of effectiveness across various spheres of work.
But does AI also pose some challenges in terms of, like, are there any limitations to how it can help you achieve these sustainability goals?
Yeah. I think the one which comes immediately to my mind, Deborah, is that it's a very powerful tool. So what you feed in, what will come out. So I think the quality of the data is very critical. What you expect to outcome. So I think inconsistent data can lead to suboptimal results, also not maybe meeting your desired objectives. So that's the reason we also invest in real-time monitoring sensors kind of in setups, and continuously train our AI models to adapt those new energy trends to see that effectiveness coming over a period of time.
Perfect. Sharad, do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, so AI usage, as Surjit said, that it's a work in progress. And currently for us, the main work in progress on AI, the way we are using AI is really on the operation side. On sustainability front, in the beginning, I said it's about renewable energy efficiency and the design engineering. Now, a well-operated, efficiently operated data center with minimal failures, minimum challenges to the equipment is also increases the efficiencies. And when it increases the efficiency, it automatically helps us save carbon footprint also. So right now, what we are doing is that we are in a phase where we are observing our data very closely. We are trying to figure out a training logic behind those data. And we have set up a specific, you could say, group that is using this data to create algorithms and load and train it in the ways that we could predict as much as possible what we need to do in the operations in a particular segment. So that's what is our use case that we are driving to drive efficiency, to improve the maintenance, to be able to predictively maintain, to predict the failures in the system, and in a way be able to run the data center more efficiently. If we are able to run data center, do all these things, it improves PUE, and therefore there is a reduced carbon footprint because of that efficiency. So that is one aspect, which is, I would say, a use case work in progress. But obviously, there is a lot more that we need to continuously come up with, and this will give us to learn more about what we can do in future.
That's what I was going to come to, because you have some observations, you're constantly adding to your knowledge, you have some experiences. Based on that, if you were to say crystal ball gaze 5 or 10 years in the future, from the national perspective, we're talking about carbon neutral mega data center campuses. What is your vision? What do you see happening, unfolding on the sustainability front? Can we become net zero or carbon neutral?
On the data center front.
Yes.
Yeah. Then you're saying, thinking of like, okay, now we should dream how it should be there, right?
No, realistically, because it's all about realistic goal setting. Do you think in the next 5 to 10 years, we can come at least close to that goal? Because everyone is talking, first they were talking about carbon neutral by 2030. Now it's become net zero by 2050. So, if there is that trend of shifting goalposts, but realistically, based on, your wisdom, your experiences, 5 to 10 years, will we get closer to the goals, or will we keep playing that catch-up game?
I think the baseline will change, and therefore it is achievable. So what do I mean by that? That the baseline will change. In next 10 years, let's say, we would have introduced so much more carbon in the building footprint. We would have consumed so much additional, I would have put additional steel carbon or the cement carbon or dust carbon or whatever, that it is quite possible to continuously reuse the same carbons, at least on the civil side.
Right.
Maybe we will be able to reuse, recycle a lot of our equipments that we will generate today. And we'll be able to say that, okay, the gens that we dumped 10 years down the line will come back in a different form, refurbished or redone without additional steel or additional carbon footprint. So maybe the reuse component with the maximization of the reusability of the additional carbon that we would have generated over the next 10 years could get us somewhere where we are adding lesser and lesser and lesser. That's how I feel it will be. Second, on the renewable energy front, I feel much more confident that we will be able to get cleaner energy without additional carbon footprint. Definitely by then, not by fudging this way, but in a real way. Maybe policy supports and many other things that will happen there. We will get there. And third is with the government's initiative of transitioning from fossil fuel to nuclear energy with this 100 gigawatt goal and many more, that should add on to that component, yes. So renewable energy, nuclear energy, and reusability of additional carbon that we would put in the system in the next few years should get us there. I'm positive about that, yeah.
What do you see in the crystal ball, Surajit?
What exactly Sharad saw? We are seeing the same ball. So, but I think, and the ball is big, but I think I completely tend to agree with him. And my quick 2 cents is that I'm very positive, Deborah. I think we will be closer. Well, while this journey we'll have a lot of, I would say, a lot of experiences. I'm not using purposely the word challenge. I would say a lot of experiences, a lot of things to be unfold. But I think I can see from an industry perspective, there is a huge positive mindset towards it to approach. So I think that will lead us much closer to the goal, which we have envisaged. So I think I'm quite upbeat about it.
Thank you so much. That's a positive note to end this discussion on. Thank you so much for joining us today. Sharad Agarwal, Surajit Chatterjee. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you, Sharad. Thank you. Thank you, Deborah.
Yeah, thank you, Surajit. Thank you, Deborah.
And that's a wrap. This episode of W.Media Deep Dive was brought to you by Chennai Cloud and Data Center Convention that will take place on May 22 at the ITC Grand Chola in Chennai. We'll also be hosting our maiden edition of Chennai Interconnect World here. To know more or to share feedback on this episode, do write to us at india@w.media. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Deborah Grey and I'll catch you in the next episode of W.Media Deep Dive. Bye for now.